So, okay, everybody got the verse open? So I'll read the verse. Shri Bhagavanu Vacha Asamsayam Mahabao Mano Durgraham Chalam Abhyasena tu Kaunteya Vairagena cha griyate. So, the translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Lord Sri Krishna said, O mighty armed son of Kunti, it is undoubtedly very difficult to curb the restless mind, but it is possible by suitable practice and detachment. So here you have it. Even our scriptures are verifying the same fact. Like I said in the first class, that mind is very restless. It's chanchala. It always wants to move from here and there. And because of this mind, we face so much difficulty, so much problems in our life. So the very point, very objective of yoga is controlling the mind, and the mind operates through senses. So once we can control the senses and control the mind, then we can make advancement through spirit to our spiritual life endeavors. And how can we do that? Where Sri Krishna very simply puts it out for us, that it's possible by suitable practice and detachment. So just to give you a recap on this verse, Arjuna initially tells Krishna how his mind is so unwavering and he's so troubled by his mind. And Krishna initially tries to teach him dhyana yoga, where he says sit with your spine straight and sit on kusha grass and meditate on the tip of your nose, close your eyes. He gives him a very complicated meditational process. And Arjuna then tells Krishna that Krishna, you can tell me to control the wind. I still have a better chance than controlling my mind, because my mind is so restless. It always wants to move from here to there. It's very difficult to control my mind. So then Krishna tells him that you don't need to do such complex meditational processes. And indirectly, Krishna was also hinting that us, the people of Kali Yuga, we will face a lot of difficulty in doing such advanced, difficult meditational processes. Why? Because in this age, the man is defined by like deteriorating age, deteriorating memory, deteriorating intelligence, always disturbed mind, always quarreling with people. In that state of mind, it's very difficult to do difficult meditation. Nibir Prabhu, I saw that you closed the phone. Can you please open the phone and read the purport for me, please? You can read. Should I get you to read the whole thing? Okay, you can read like the till by practice of Krishna. So, stop. Yeah, you keep on reading. I'll tell you when to stop.
The difficulty of controlling the infinite mind and expressed by Arjuna is accepted by personality of Godhead. But at the same time, he says that by practice and development it is possible. What is the practice? In the present age, no one can observe the strict rules and regulations of placing oneself in a sacred place, focusing on the mind, on the super soul, restraining the senses and minds, observing the celibacy, remaining alone.
That's good enough. Good. So this purpose starts by Prabhupada trying to explain to us that Arjuna was facing difficulty in controlling his mind, and he clearly tells him that I cannot control my mind through these complex meditational practices. In earlier times, like Salon Prabhu talked about the Yuga Dharma in each age. So it was in Satyug, it was hardcore meditation. People were meditating till 60,000 years, which is not possible in this age because we don't even live till 60,000. We don't. Some people die before 60. So what about 60,000? Then there is yagnas and temple worship. But in today's age, even cleanliness is so difficult to maintain that all of these practices are next to impossible to do it. So then how does one practice it? It's very difficult for somebody to go to the forest, practice celibacy, stay alone in detached. In today's time when people are so busy in their 9 to 5 jobs, how do you expect somebody to control their mind? They can't do these complex meditational practices. And that is the process of Krishna consciousness. So Nibir Prabhu, you can please continue reading.
By, by the practice of Krishna consciousness, however, one engages in the 9 types of devotional service to the Lord. The first and the foremost of such devotional engagements is hearing about Krishna. This is a very powerful transcendental method of purging the mind of all misgiving.
Yep, that's good enough. So, Prabhupada has given the 9 types of devotional services. Anybody can tell me what the 9 types of devotional services? Salon Prabhu, do you have any? Even one or two you can do.
It's not the 9 stages of bhakti.
No, it's sort of like that. No. So it's Shravana, Kirtana, Vishnu, Padasevana. Sorry, I have it written down, even I'm not very good at this. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Vadanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, and Atma Nivedam. So we'll go through each of this in detail. Shravanam, it's the first and the most simplest and the most important stage of devotional service, that is hearing, Shravan. So how do we hear it? There are different ways. One is while if when we go on Harinam, people who are just happen to observe the procession going on, they happen to hear the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So just by hearing this, there's so much spiritual benefit, but it's very difficult because it's subtle. It's happening so subtly that you won't even come to know. Like right now, Nibir is sitting in front of me. We see his physical body, that's the gross body, but subtly his mind, his intelligence, right now he's thinking so many thoughts, but that we cannot see, that we cannot perceive, that change we cannot see. I can only see his body growing. Eventually in 10 years time I'll see his body changing, but I cannot see his mind. I cannot observe his intelligence, how it's progressed, how it's improved. And above the intelligence there's a soul. So when this chanting of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra is the subtlest and the transcendental sound vibration that gives someone so much spiritual acumen. So that is the first step. So Shravanam. Then comes Kirtanam. Kirtanam means chanting and hearing, chanting and singing, sorry. So one way of understanding is the temple, we do Kirtan, that is Kirtanam, where all people sit, we get different musical instruments like I did just now, and we just sing the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. And Kirtanam also means chanting, where we sit and we chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, we do Japa. That is also counted as Kirtanam. That is the second stage of devotional service. That too is also very, very important. These two first two that I told you is absolutely important. Now, when somebody progresses with this, then they do Smaranam. When they are very regularly cultivating these two habits of Shravanam and Kirtanam, which are the two most important habits, then they get into Smaranam. What is Smaranam? The meditation on the form of Lord Sri Krishna, or the form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now, even yesterday we had Jayadvaita Maharaj, and he said the same thing, that by regularly chanting the names of Krishna, by chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, after a point, one reaches the stage where the form of Krishna is almost present. Why? Because Krishna is on the absolute platform. There is no difference between his name, his quality, his pastimes, and his form. So by constantly chanting his name, one can also understand and perceive Krishna's form, which is usually not perceived by regular people. It makes us more qualified. Like Srila Prabhupada used to say, one person asked Srila Prabhupada that, Prabhupada, can you show me God? He said, what qualification do you have to see God? He said that supposing you want to see the President of United States, you can't just say, I want to see the President of United States, and all of a sudden he will prakat ho jayega aapke samne. He won't appear in front of you. He will, you need to be qualified. You need to have some sort of qualification to do that. So that is Smaranam, where you meditate on the form of Krishna. Then there is Pada Sevanam. Pada Sevanam means serving the lotus feet of Krishna. Pada means feet and Sevanam means to serve. So that is Pada Sevanam. Archanam means deity worship, where after one is so absorbed in the form of Krishna and the names of Krishna that he eventually worships Krishna in the deity form. So we do that by offering incense sticks, fire lamps, flowers. That's the service that we do for Krishna. It's also, selfless devotional service that we offer to Krishna. Doing some work for Krishna, cleaning the temple room of Krishna, organizing things for Krishna, making sure that the knowledge of Krishna is spread. People go on book distribution, people go on Harinam to spread the word of Krishna. So those are also unalloyed devotional services that people do. That is, again, an advanced stage of Krishna consciousness, when somebody is so absorbed in the form of Krishna that they are completely devoting their life to serving Krishna. Then there's Vandanam, which is prayers and offering obeisances. This is pretty straightforward. I don't think I need to explain this too much. Prayers we always offer. Then there's Dasyam. Now this is a very elevated position where somebody becomes the servant of Krishna. Now, servant, even though it comes across as a derogatory term, it's actually, Prabhupada used to say, being a servant of Krishna is actually a very elevated position. It's not an easy job to be the servant of Krishna. Now, how do we be the servant of Krishna? Krishna himself told Arjuna that I think it was 18.61. Can you open 18.61 and quickly read just the translation? Don't need to read the Sanskrit. Bhagavad Gita, BG 18.61. So, as far as I remember, yeah, it's Krishna tells Arjuna that this machine, this yantra, this body that you have, is controlled by the super soul. It's acting in accordance to the super soul. Like Arjuna was hesitant in fighting the war, and Krishna first goes on to explain the Bhagavad Gita, and then eventually he tells Arjuna that, by the way, you don't even need to worry about killing the Kauravas because I have already killed them. You just become the instrument. So it's given, I'll just read it. Ishvara sarva bhutanam hrideshe arjuna tishtati brahmayam sarva bhutani yantra ruddhani mayaya. The Supreme Lord is situated in everyone's heart, O Arjuna, and is directing the wanderings of all living entities who are seated as on a machine made out of material energy. So Krishna explains that this living entity, there's the Atma that's in the heart, and he is also supported and also in the presence of the super soul or the Paramatma. And the Paramatma is actually doing all the control. He is basically navigating that person's life, and the person is just acting as an instrument. But that only happens when somebody is in a mode of surrender. If you're resisting God, then you're just falling, either you're serving material energy, Maya, or else you're serving the Supreme Lord. When we are in ignorance, when we deny the fact that we are actually, part and parcel servitors of Krishna, then we fall into the trap of Maya, where Krishna says, okay, this person is in ignorance, he wants to enjoy in ignorance, then he has to get a platform where he can enjoy, and that is this material world, where we are blindfolded with ignorance. If this blindfold comes out, we realize that everything is controlled by God. Even a small atom in our body is controlled by God. That's what Krishna is saying. This material body, this yantra. So many people, you think just now, you're breathing. This breathing motion involves so many muscles. Your lungs are getting tense. Your windpipe is getting used. So many, neurons are passing messages. It's such a complex. Even smiling. So they say like so many muscles are being used for just smiling, for blinking your eye. All these movements are also done by the approval of Paramatma. Nothing in this world, they say, even a blade of grass cannot move without the approval of God, which is so true. And sometimes God may not approve it. What happens then? Paralysis. All of a sudden, somebody will see they're unable to blink their eye, they're unable to move some part of the body. That's because their past karma has come up. So without getting too diverted, because I recently read this verse, I found it very interesting. But yeah, basically Krishna is the supreme controller. He gives the supreme authority for everything. Even the bad things that happen in our life, it is done by the approval of Krishna. And why is it done? Because we, on our own, we decide to get into ignorance, get into Maya, and then Maya has to abide by its own rules, and that's why we suffer. Once somebody surrenders onto Krishna, on the lotus feet of Krishna, and understands that we are nothing but servitors of Krishna, then Krishna acts through them. A pure devotee is somebody who's in complete surrender of Krishna, and therefore they say a pure devotee never make mistakes. Each and every action of the pure devotee, each and every word of the pure devotee is perfect. Like Prabhupada, he was a pure devotee, and Ghanshyam Prabhu also quoted this many times. He said he was quoting an American journalist who had been with Prabhupada for like almost 6-7 years of the movement, and he was saying, I've observed this man from day and night, and I can tell you one thing, this man never makes a mistake. Srila Prabhupada never made a mistake. Everything he said, all his vakya was always perfect. It was transcendental. Why? Because he was completely surrendered soul. And when he's a surrendered soul, Krishna acts through that person, and he, we see how successful the Hare Krishna movement is. Why? Because Krishna was able to operate through a surrendered soul like Srila Prabhupada, and every word that he said, every action that he did was in the transcendental platform. So that's what we should eventually aim to reach, the stage of dasyam, which is servitude. A good example is Hanumanji. He was Ramadut Hanuman. He was the eternal servitor of Lord Ram. And every action that Lord Hanuman did, even though after having 8 siddhis, all the yogic perfections, he always used it in the service of Lord Ram. And when you are serving Lord, like a mother, when she's feeding the child, cooking for the child, making sure that the child is getting ready for school, all the small activities, she's serving the child, but she's feeling blissful of doing that. She's not that the child is eating and the mother is feeling more blissful. Similarly, when we serve Krishna, we also feel that blissfulness, because we reach on that stage of where we are completely free of our ignorance, and we selflessly serve Krishna. So that is Dasyam. And then we reach Sakyam. Sakyam means, this is Sakhi. Sakhi is what? Friend. So friendship. We reach the state of friendship with the Supreme Lord. And then there's Atma Nivedam, full surrender, complete surrender. That's the last stage and the highest stage of devotional service. So these are the 9 stages of devotional service. Nibir Prabhu, can you continue reading? 6.35. I'll give you a second to just get that open. So I think we were on by practice. Yeah, I think we were on. No, I think we went on that. Misgivings. So I think you have to speak from the more one hears about Krishna. By the way, any questions so far? Anybody has any doubts? No? Okay, you can go ahead.
The more one hears about Krishna, the more one becomes enlightened and detached from everything that draws the mind away from Krishna. By detaching the mind from activities not devoted to the Lord, one can very easily learn Vairagya. Vairagya means detachment from matter and engagement of the mind spirit. Key person of spiritual detachment is more difficult than attaching the mind to the activities of Krishna. This is practical because by hearing about Krishna, one becomes automatically attached to the Supreme Spirit.
That's good. That's good enough, bro. So, Vairagyam. Vairagya is a very popular term. It's one of the opulences as well. Vairagya means detachment. People who are completely detached from material, material profits, material gains. Yeah, completely detached. But in today's time, it's impossible. If you're working, if you're a student, how can you do Vairagya? You can't just leave everything and quit everything and go. That's where devotional service shows its beauty, because devotional service, Krishna consciousness, does not say give up something. It gives you yukta vairagya, where you use everything that you have in the service of Krishna. Instead, right now we're using every material acumen that we have for our own pleasure, for our own gain, for our own profit. We're trying to, a person drives to work, he tries to buy big houses. Why? So that his children can have a good luxurious life. They try to put in so much endeavors, but they end up keep on suffering up. Then he's stuck in that cycle of Maya, the trap of Maya. 9 to 5, wife is complaining, children, loan has not been paid, they're stuck. All of them are stuck. Why? Because they are doing it for their own selfish gain. When someone does this selflessly for Krishna, Krishna never told Arjun, you give up everything, go to the hills. He said, you want to be spiritual, you shoot people with the arrow. That's your spirituality. And Arjuna was the most spiritual person in the Bhagavad Gita. Even though he was a Kshatriya, he was fighting, he was killing people. Why? Because he was doing Yukta Vairagya. He was using everything in the service of Krishna. So, out of the 9 stages of devotional service, the most important one is hearing, Shravanam. Why is that? Because just by hearing, somebody can, Krishna is not different from his name. So when you come in contact with the sound vibration of Krishna, it's as good as coming in presence of Krishna. Let's do an experiment, all of us. Let's chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra once. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. This very act that we did right now, that is so transcendental and so powerful, but we don't come to realize it because it's very subtle. But as per the scriptures, it's given that hearing, Shravanam, is very important. That's why if you see, all the activities done in ISKCON are following these stages of devotional service. There's deity worship, there's chanting, there's hearing. Everything is accordance to what's given in the scriptures. Now, why is that? Because your mind, we think it's very easy for us to just detach our mind. We just completely, it's like if you have diabetes and the doctor says that you cannot eat this. You cannot say, okay, I've got diabetes, now I will stop eating completely. That's not practical. That's not possible. You need to do that. So what devotional service does is, what Krishna consciousness does is, it doesn't take away your, like for a diabetic, it doesn't take away the food. It replaces it with a healthier diet. Like for a diabetic, he cannot eat sweets. So the doctor gives him a particular amount of diet. You have to eat this, a healthier diet, something which is giving him more profit. They don't steal away the sense pleasure. They give him more transcendental sense pleasure. That's what is happening in Krishna consciousness, where one can, instead of, we talk so much nonsense, all day. If you record yourself talking, you will realize, my God, I talk so much nonsense throughout the day. Like in school, we used to talk about this celebrity, this person did that, this teacher has a funny nose, this person, we'll keep on talking about nonsense throughout the day. But we don't realize how powerful sound vibration is. Think about it. Hitler, just by talking, he could his sound vibration was so powerful that he could get so many people to wage wars, great commanders, generals, so many people just through sound vibration could motivate so many people. Sound vibration is very effective. So if we use sound vibration in the service of Lord, how do we do that? By chanting the names of Lord. Then not only we benefit ourselves, we also benefit the person who's hearing it, who happens to hear it. That's what Shravanam is. It's very, very important that because obviously we can't go to a forest, we can't stay alone for 30 years, we can't eat only fruits and roots. That was possible in 300 years ago, 3000 years ago, when people were also made like that. Human body was capable of performing such austerity. In today's time, it's impossible. We cannot do that. So it's simple. The simplest the sense that we can use is our tongue. Prabhupada used to say, Prabhupada, like one person asked Prabhupada, that Prabhupada, why is this Hare Krishna movement so austere? Why you guys so austere movement? He said, what is austere? For achieving Godhead, you just need to do two things. Chant Hare Krishna with your tongue and take prasadam. Is that very austere? Is that very difficult? We all like to eat, right? You like to eat, Nibir? Yes. Krishna Das Prabhu, I know how much he likes to eat. I myself love to eat. By the way, I'm struggling right now. It's Ekadashi. I haven't eaten anything, but I'm waiting for I can't wait for the prasadam. So we all like to eat, but instead of eating food, we offer it to Krishna, and we use that also in devotional service. We don't say that you starve yourself, you go to the Himalayas, you sit under a mountain, don't eat for 30 days and this, that. It's impossible. You cannot do it. In fact, so what is given over here is, instead of doing austerities, and your mind cannot live without pleasure. Your mind needs some sort of pleasure. It's the mind's nature to look for pleasure. If everything that your mind tries to find is basically, how do I find pleasure through this? How do I find pleasure through going to a movie? How do I find pleasure through eating this food? It's constantly searching for pleasure. So Krishna consciousness doesn't steal away your pleasure. It gives you a higher pleasure, a higher taste. So that's why we offer food to Krishna. Krishna himself says, Patram pushpam phalam toyam yo me bhakta prayachati. That means if one offers me leaf, flower, fruit with love and devotion, I accept it. Once he accepts it, that becomes prasadam. And that's what we consume, that's what we take. So that's why consuming prasadam, hearing about Krishna's name, hearing about Krishna's pastime is very, very important. A fun fact that in the Srimad Bhagavatam, in the first canto, Vyasadev, the compiler of the Mahabharata and the Puranas, and he comes and Ved Vyas, the compiler of the Vedas, he's such a learned scholar. His guru, Sri Narad Muni, he comes and asks him, then Narad Muni, you're so elevated, you can travel to any universe, any platform, you can go back in time, you can see the Mahabharata, you can see the Ramayana. How did you get this benediction? How are you able to do that? How did the Lord bestow so much mercy upon you? And Narad Muni gave him his backstory. Narad Muni, since he was so elevated, he could remember his birth before he got the spiritual body. And in there, he said that he was with his mother. He was like a 5-year-old boy, and he used to, only his mother was there. He had no other family. And he used to serve the Brahmanas selflessly. He used to provide them whatever they needed. He used to, eat their leftovers, the Mahaprasadam, and he used to do unalloyed devotional service. And in return, he used to get their association. It's very important. Sadhu Sangha, Sadhu Sangha. When he used to get association of such elevated Brahmanas who were constantly talking about the transcendental pastimes of the Lord. They were constantly talking about it. And just by hearing that, just by doing Shravanam, he got so much spiritual acumen that over time, this is what's given in the purport as well, that over time, by just listening to the holy name, by listening to the activities, by listening to the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita, right now what we are doing is also Shravanam. It's a spiritual activity that's going to give us benefit. Just by doing that, automatically your mind gets two things. What is that? Enlightened. It understands the true nature. It gets separated from Maya. It can see things in a higher platform. And second is, it gets detached. All the things that a Vairagi is trying to obtain, we get that naturally. You will see so many people, like Prabhupada used to preach to hippies who were addicted to all sorts of sense pleasures, drinking, smoking, eating meat, all the regulative principles, they used to break it simultaneously. So drink, gamble, and do all the things at once. They were on that level. But when they started listening to Krishna's pastimes, when they started chanting the holy name, not even chanting, they used to just listen to Prabhupada. Prabhupada went with one kartal. Right now we have mridanga, harmonium, it's become so fancy. He went with one kartal and simply chanted. And he used to do that for so long that people, just by listening over point, they started getting interested. They started getting enlightened. And second thing is they started getting detached. After a point, they couldn't stand looking at alcohol also. They used to spit in the name of alcohol and drugs and all of that, because they were getting such higher taste. So that's what Yukta Vairagya does. That's what Shravanam does. It completely detaches you from material pleasure and gives you the transcendental spiritual pleasure that we are all looking for. Krishna Das Prabhu, why don't you read? We are on Bhagavad Gita 18, what is it? 6.35. You will have to read the purport from this attachment is called Pareshanubhava. So you see till Supreme Spirit, Krishna one becomes ordered to Supreme. Then after that, this attachment is called Pareshanubhava, spiritual satisfaction.
Spiritual satisfaction.
Yeah.
It is just like the feeling of satisfaction a hungry man has for every morsel of food he eats. The more one eats while hungry, the more one feels satisfaction and strength. Similarly, by discharge of devotional service, one feels transcendental satisfaction as the mind becomes detached from the material object. It is something like curing a disease by expert treatment and appropriate diet. Hearing of transcendental activities of Lord Krishna is therefore expert treatment for the mad mind, and eating the foodstuff offered to the Krishna is appropriate diet for the suffering patient. This treatment is a process of Krishna consciousness.
So when a person is diseased, what does the doctor usually say? He first does a diagnosis. He says, here's the ailment that you're facing. Then he writes him, first he gives him some treatment. He gives you an injection. He gives you some medicine. And then he gives you proper diet. You eat this. If you're diabetic, you avoid these foods. You do this. Similarly, when we are for satisfying our for curing our material disease, Prabhupada, the bona fide spiritual master, they give us a healthy. First of all, they cure our disease. How do they cure that? By the simple process of chanting Hare Krishna. So Prabhupada gave us a very simple instruction. Here are the do's, and here are the don'ts. So do's are very simple. Chant Hare Krishna. Very simple. All of us can do this. Chant Hare Krishna. Prescribe was 16 rounds, and we all should aim to reach this number. Initially, if you're starting, we'll not directly start reaching 16 rounds, but gradually this should be our main goal. 16 rounds. Prabhupada used to say, if one can wake up early in the morning, like around sunrise time, if some can take a shower, he said cold shower, but we can say shower, and somebody chants his 16 rounds, attends Mangala Aarti. He does that for 12 years. Everything that comes out of his mouth will be perfect. I'm quoting Srila Prabhupada. I'm not making this up. He said, if one can wake up early in the morning, Brahma Muhurta time. What is Brahma Muhurta time? Ideally, it's 3:30. 3:30, none of us will wake up, let's be honest. We wake up at like 8, 9, whatever time we feel like. So let's try to make this objective of trying to wake up early. 4:30 is a good time. You can initially start with 6, 5:30, but try to reach 4:30. That's like ideal Brahma Muhurta time. When you've just woken up, the atmosphere is also conducive for chanting. You can chant. If you see early in the morning, chanting is very beneficial. So you chant Hare Krishna, do 16 rounds. You take a shower ideally, so that because your water does not even clean your material body, it also purifies you. That's why you'll see so many rishis and munis, they're always taking shower, like bath so many times. You'll see they used to take bath like 6-7 times a day. Ideally, a yogi should take bath 3 times a day, but we can do whatever is practical for us. But at least in the morning, it's very important that we take a shower. Ideally, cold shower. You can start now with shower, but try to aim for cold shower. So these are the habits that we should do. This is the treatment. This is the ailment that is given. So our material disease is that we're suffering from separation from Krishna. The medicine that Prabhupada has given is chant Hare Krishna, 16 rounds. Eat prasadam. This I don't think anybody will struggle with. everybody everybody is doing this part kind of reading, Bhagavad Gita, reading in groups, having discussion. Right now what we're doing, this is also one of the medicines. Association, coming to temple, talking with devotees, trying to understand the kind of people we surround ourselves with. That's how we will also become. A lot of famous motivational speakers say you are the sum of the 5 people you hang out with the most. If you're hanging out with people who are drinking and smoking all the time, over a point, even if you weren't a drinker or smoker, you'll be like, hey, you know what, it doesn't sound bad, let me also try. But if we surround ourselves similarly with people who are constantly absorbed in God realization, they're making spiritual endeavors, then that's also very good. So chanting, eating prasadam, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam. Now, what are the don'ts? Who can tell me the don'ts? Nibir Prabhu, do you know any of the don'ts? 4 regulative principles. What are they?
Meat eating.
Correct. Let's write one by one. So, meat eating. Krishna Das Prabhu, what is the other one?
No illicit sex.
No illicit sex. Very good.
No gambling.
By the way, for meat eating, eggs also are included. A lot of people I've seen in Australia, I say I want a vegetarian sandwich because I thought I'll get like in India we have vegetarian means like they give pure vegetarian and non-veg is okay, fish egg. They give me egg sandwich for vegetarian and they put like that green 100% vegetarian. I'm like, bro, this is not vegetarian. What's wrong with you? So eggs, and for some reason fish also is not considered vegetarian. Is considered vegetarian. So eggs and fish, these are also, and onion garlic, that we'll get on. I don't want to scare you guys too much. Illicit sex, which basically means sex outside of marriage. Don't do that. It might look very enticing at first, but if you see the backstory of it, it's like in my gym, there's like a television program that comes, I think it's in 9 Channel News Australia, which is called Married at First Sight, where they're basically trying to get random strangers, they get them couples, they get them married, and then they show how beautiful and romantic their life is. Literally, I'm telling you, first episode, it's very, that guy gets like chocolates and decorates the house and all that. It's like the typical love story movie. Within the next 2 episodes, the guy is crying. He's banging his head on the wall. Why? Because the girl is hanging out with some other guy, something or the so much drama, so much politics. How can a mind be peaceful at that? So this mind look very enticing, very attractable. It's not really. It's the Shastras knew it long ago. Salwan Prabhu, what's the third one? Gambling. This also is like a no-brainer. We see how people are suffering from gambling. They put in their entire life savings into that, they lose it, and then they're just in depression. And I had a friend who was very bad into gambling. There was one point, like what gambling does is you think that you'll win for some time. It gives, like all casinos are made like that. They'll make you win deliberately for the first 2 times, and third time they'll take all your money. Casinos are very strategically built. I have one friend who's a programmer who does all these roulette machine setups and all. He himself told, don't ever do that. It's completely rigged. They will make money from you. Yeah, casino is not going to give out money to you. It's here to take money from you. And gambling, like I had a friend who did gambling for such a long time. He got so addicted, like he was taking out money from, he used to tell his father that there's an accident, please send money. And then his father used to send him thinking that my son is in danger. And he used to put all that money in gambling, lose it. And then he went mad. In fact, like in the last game, I remember he punched his hand on the roulette machine after losing like $7,000. And then he started crying and the casino guys kicked him out. So basically we see gambling also, any instance you take, it's just going to cause sadness. Krishna bro, what's the last one? We didn't meet it in... No intoxication. Ganja. Intoxication. This is like, again, alcohol, drugs, avoid them. This is also no-brainer. Nobody has to tell you. There's no single case of somebody drinking alcohol and having a very successful life. It's all ended up in bad and devastating endeavors. How many of you have seen that TV show Friends? Friends, you seen? So Friends, Chandler, right? Yeah, that guy Matthew Perry was making $2 million per episode. Friends was like the biggest show in 1990s. It's very popular, and Matthew Perry was making like $2 million per episode. They had like 8 seasons and they had like so many episodes. That guy, he had like amazing, beautiful California beach-facing house, tennis court, for like any supercar you mention, he has it. Ferrari, Porsche, all of that. But that guy was a deep into intoxication. He used to drink. He went on interviews crying that I cannot, when I drink, have one glass, I cannot stop. I just want to have more and more and more. Finally, you know how he died? He was in his bathtub taking a shower. He was completely wasted, and he fell into the bathtub and he suffocated and died in the bathtub. That's what happened. Imagine drowning in a bathtub. People drown in ocean, you can still understand. Bathtub is like, I can stand up. He died in the bathtub. Why? Because that's what intoxication does. And throughout his life, he was completely in misery. You could have seen his face, gray hair at the age of 30, looking depressed all the time. He used to tell in interviews, I'm so miserable. People were trying to help him out, but it's just so tragic. Friends, family, you lose everything because of intoxication. So these are the don'ts. This is what our spiritual master, the doctor who's going to cure material disease, is telling us to avoid. These four, especially in Western countries, are very predominant. We should avoid them. And the do's are, main thing is chanting Hare Krishna. Even in the purport it's given that Shravanam Kirtanam, most important. So this is, here you have it. And then what is it? The doctor then says, okay, here is the medicine, here's what you need to avoid. And he also gives you good diet. What is that? Having Krishna Prasad. I mean, this is very easy. If you don't need to come to the temple to have prasadam. You can, if you have a photo of Krishna, or you can just offer the food. If you have a tulsi leaf, that's good. Offer it. We'll have a separate class. It's too complicated, but basically just offer food in front of photo of Krishna with love and devotion. That's the main thing. If you do it with love and devotion, Krishna will accept it. So here you have it. Here's the ailment and here's the treatment that Srila Prabhupada has given. I can guarantee anybody who follows these, they will very soon start seeing major changes in the temple as well. I speak to many of the devotees. I won't name them, but they were into smoking marijuana and cigarettes and alcohol. And then over like just in few months, they completely changed. They used to tell me, Prabhuji, my life is so much better now. I feel genuine peace and happiness. It gives you what is called as Parisanubhava, which is spiritual satisfaction. See, we need to understand one thing. People who are doing all of this, all of them are trying to find some sort of pleasure, some sort of satisfaction. But they are, unfortunately, they're looking in material platforms for the pleasure. But what we actually are looking for is the meditation on the form of Krishna, meditation in the form of the Supreme Lord. Once one has that, you'll see you're naturally very satisfied. Krishna Prabhu, is it a fact or not? If you're giving an exam and you're always stressed out and you're always tensed, do you think you'll do good in the exam? Nibir Prabhu, if you're calm, peaceful, you're feeling very satisfied. Okay, then Atma Shanti, you feel very peaceful from inside. Do you think you'll do anything you'll do good, right? You can go and talk, you can go and sing, you can go and dance. Everything you'll do will be very good because inside of you, you're feeling very blissful. You're feeling very satisfied. That satisfaction is what people are looking for. People are right now buying, renting houses, taking loans, doing this and that, gambling at night, working day and night for some sort of attraction. They're going to nightclubs and finding which woman can I approach and all that. They're constantly stuck in this loop, looking for some sort of satisfaction, but they're never finding it. It's impossible to find. It's like finding gold in a junkyard. You will never find it. You need to go to the correct place to find it, and that is only through Vishnu's Shravanam Kirtanam. So that is what's important. Now, I hope anybody has any questions. Okay, so one more question. I think Nibir Prabhu also was telling me this, that when I chant, I lose my attention, I lose my concentration. It's happened to all of us have faced a problem. We sit and chant Hare Krishna, and then while we're doing Hare Krishna, our mind goes to everything apart from Krishna. It's thinking about our job, it's thinking about how we're going to pay rent, it's thinking about this and that. So how do we control it, and what's the key given? So if you can open which one is it? Yeah, 6.26. BG 6.26. So you can quickly just open that. I'll also open it quickly. So whoever opens it can quickly just read out. Yato yato nischalati. 2.26. 2.26. Yeah, Krishna bro, go ahead.
From wherever the mind wanders due to its flickering and unstudious nature, one must certainly withdraw it and bring it back under the control of the self.
Correct. So Krishna is not telling Arjuna, like even if you see in the previous chapter that he said, the words that we just discussed, 6.35, Krishna is saying, what is that word? Durni Graham. Durnigraham, which means very difficult to curb, which means Krishna is not telling Arjuna that you have to control your mind and stop your mind and this and that. Krishna, imagine the Supreme Lord is himself saying that your mind is going to wander. It's very difficult. Lord Krishna is himself telling it to Arjuna. Who is Arjuna? The man who can look at the reflection, or he can shoot an arrow by looking at the reflection in the water. Arjuna could kill millions of armies in seconds. He was fighting with Lord Indra. That's how that's how elevated Arjun was. And he is saying that I can't control the mind. So what to think about you and me? We are not at that platform. And Krishna is telling him that it's difficult to control your mind. He is himself saying, he's not saying that you will control your mind. So what is the process? Acknowledge the fact that your mind is going to wander while chanting, while performing devotional service. Your mind is going to wander. His mind has got 30 years of the 20 or whatever your age is, that many years of data. It's very contaminated with material disease. So it will get time. Even person who has jaundice, it's not that you have one tablet and you're cured. Doctor says have a tablet for 30 months, 30 days, and you will eventually see that the disease is going down. So similarly, we have to acknowledge the fact that our mind is going to wander and slowly bring it back to chanting. Slowly, your mind will run away, and then you have to bring it back. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. You have to constantly just chant and hear, chant and hear, chant and hear. That's the main thing. People try to do like all meditational tactics and all that. Prabhupada simply said chant and hear. Listen to the sound vibration of Hare Krishna and chant with each syllable perfectly. Hare Krishna. That's how we have to chant. So eventually we'll see, Nibir, you will see that after doing this, initially you might struggle. Over time, you will see the results. Like when you go to a gym, you won't pick up 1 10 kilo weight and suddenly you will become John Abraham. It will take you some time. It will take some time practice. You need to follow a diet. You need to put in some effort. So similarly with chanting, you need to put in that effort. You have to drag your mind out of wherever it is and put it back onto the name. So that's the process. It's very straightforward and simply given. So we are almost towards the end. I think we spoke about most of the things. Sleep at fixed times. So another good habit we can inculcate is sleeping. Also, we need 6 hours of sleep minimum, 6 to 7 hours. So try to sleep after like sunset is the time, according to the Ayurveda also, where the human body should rest. That's the time where you should like people I see after sunset they get most active. That's very bad. Your digestion is very bad at that time. Your body needs rest. So after sunset, try to sleep as early as possible and try to wake up during Brahma Muhurta, which is 4:30 to 6. That's the best time. And if you can chant in the morning, you'll see distraction free chanting. At least initially you'll see that very good quality chanting you'll have in the morning. Try to finish your whatever rounds you have. If you don't want to do 16 initially, if you chant like 4 5 6 7 8, you do that, but try to do it in the morning. First thing in the morning, make it your number one priority that I have to chant Hare Krishna. As per this verse also, chanting Shravanam and Kirtanam most important. So we need to focus on that. Make it our number one priority of our day. So that is them. Second is, what are the habits that one should inculcate when to advance spiritually. So Krishna Prabhu, can you open Bhagavad Gita chapter 6 verse 17 and read it, or whoever gets it. Nibir Prabhu, that includes you also.
Just need to read the translation.
Yeah, just the translation.
He who is regulated in his habits of eating, sleeping, recreation, and work can mitigate all material pains by practicing the yoga system.
Correct. So what is yoga basically? Yoga, a lot of people have no idea what yoga is. They simply sit and do sleeping. Like I've seen people, they'll sit here and they'll go off to sleep, or they're doing some stretching exercise. So people don't know what yoga is exactly. Yoga comes from the word yuj. Yuj means union. Union with who? The Supreme Personality of Lord. So we need to do Shravanam. So this is how yoga is done. Shravanam, we listen to the sound vibration of Lord. Kirtanam, we chant the name of Lord, and then Vishnu Smaranam, we are meditating, we are absorbed in the form of the Lord. This will happen eventually. And one who is regulated in the habits of eating, sleeping, recreation and work, which basically means what are the 4 main desires of human beings? Eating, sleeping, mating, defending, right? So if one can regulate that, eat in correct times, don't eat whatever you feel like. You wake up at 2 o'clock at night and eat whatever you feel like. You are not sleeping correctly. One day you're sleeping this time, one day you're sleeping that time. That's very bad. Ghanshyam Prabhu was telling us that what is the main reason that people in Kali Yuga are living such short lives? What do you think it is? Why are Kali Yuga people? Not correct, partially correct. It is irregular habits. That's what's actually killing us. Your body is a machine and it's used to, if you're eating at a certain time, it will get used to absorb. It knows that, okay, Nibir is going to eat food at this time. I'm going to sleep at this time. It's creating a sleep cycle and a sleep clock for you, a food pattern, your Agni. So all of that needs to be regulated and regulated times and controlled, monitored. It's not like you eat whatever you feel like. That's why we offer prasadam and then only take. We eat it at particular times. So eating, sleeping, mating, how do you control that? You get married, and Prabhupada said, if you're grihastha, if you're married, sex once a month, then no more than that. So somebody said, what's the point? So he said that exactly, that's the point. You need to control it, because what is sex at the end of the day? It's again attachment with this material body. Slowly we have to detach from that and get out of this idea that we are this material body, and stop gratifying this body and try to gratify Krishna. And then defending, stop trying to accumulate more and more for yourself and protect your identity. Try to accumulate things for Krishna. How can I put more things in service of Krishna? Once you do that, Krishna himself takes care of it. And how do we know if what I'm saying is true or not? Chapter Prabhu, Kamal Prabhu, do you have Bhagavad Gita with you?
No.
Okay, can you open chapter 9.22? Also, if you noticed, I'm referring to a lot of Gita verses, so please bring your Gitas next class. Just read the translation, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
But those who always worship me with exclusive devotion, meditating on my transcendental form, to them I carry what they lack and I preserve what they have.
Yeah. So it's basically somebody who's reached the point of Sakya, Dasya, where he is completely absorbed. Even for one moment, he cannot not think of Krishna. Like when Uddhava went to the gopis of Vrindavan, when Krishna had left Vrindavan and he had gone to Mathura, Krishna had told Uddhava, who was his very close associate, that you go and console them, you go and talk to them. And he said that he started giving them advice to the gopis, that you know what, you sit and you meditate on the form of Krishna, and that's as good as interacting with Krishna. So they all laughed at Uddhava. They said, oh, what do you think? We are not facing the problem of not being able to think of Krishna. We're facing the problem of not being able to think of Krishna. We're always absorbed in Krishna's thoughts only. Hence, the separation from Krishna is killing us. So that's what we need to do. When somebody is completely absorbed in the meditation of Krishna, then Krishna preserves what they have, and what does he do? Carries what they lack. The things that you lack, like for example, defense. What person is saying, ghar kaise aayega? How will I get house? How will I get education? How will I get this, that? Krishna will automatically get circumstances that will be conducive to that. If you're looking for a house and last moment you're just desperately searching, how will I find a house, rent is due, this, that, Krishna will make arrangements. So he's saying, Ananyas chintayanto mam ye jana paripasate tesham nityabhiyuktanam yogashenam vahamyaham. What does vahamyaham means? I protect and I carry it. So that is what Krishna is saying. So yeah, I'll conclude with that. Basically, one needs to, these are the do's, these are the don'ts. Shravanam, Kirtanam, most important. And lastly, once we reach the stage where we are not able to live without Krishna for even a second, Krishna then himself carries us, and it becomes a smooth sailing. He carries what we have, and so now Nibhir might ask me that, Prabhu, what if tomorrow I am doing this Hare Krishna, what if it doesn't work out? Some last moment I fall down, I give up my devotional. So it can happen to all of us. We are all young, 20s. Right now, we have that josh, we have that enthusiasm. But in 30 years, we'll see somebody who's married and we'll be like, we'll see girlfriend, boyfriend, we'll be like, even I want to have illicit sex. We'll see somebody eating nice meat food, and we'll be like, oh, this looks tasty. We might be feared that how we might fall down in the future. We might think, arey, ek cigarette, let's do. But how do we stop that? Krishna himself says that I will preserve what they have. That means all the spiritual acumen that you have gained. Even if you die in the next life, you will be presented you'll start from where you left, and I will carry what they lack. So if you think that you're going to fall down, Krishna will make arrangements. He will ensure that you will not fall down. I've seen so many devotees in the temple. I've spoken to them. They said, oh, I tried, I started having beer after being in Krishna consciousness for such a long time. I tried some that. But Krishna made arrangements in such a way that after doing all of that, full circle, I eventually came back to the temple only. I went out with a girl, I tried doing all this happened, and then I came back to the temple. Krishna will protect you. He will preserve your bhakti. Even if you, in this life, you are unable to continue with your Krishna consciousness, unable to attain Krishna, Prabhupada says there's no loss, because in the next life, there's only gain. You will be born in a family of devotees in a conducive environment where you can continue your Krishna consciousness. That's why you'll see somebody, they might be in Krishna consciousness just very quickly, and immediately they will, you'll see so much steady progress in bhakti. Like Ghanshyam Prabhu was saying that one day he was chanting his rounds in the temple, and then one Prabhuji came and he asked him, what are you doing? He said, I'm doing japa. He said, oh, can you teach me? So Ghanshyam Prabhu gave him a bead, he taught him how to do the japa, and after one round, he did one whole round with Ghanshyam Prabhu, and he said, okay, now I will be doing my 16 rounds, so if you want, you can. He said, no, even I will do 16 rounds. And the first time only he did all 16 rounds. So you see, some people are so, they just start from scratch, but they hit a sixer. They reach very high levels of devotional service. They make so much steady progress. Why? Because past life acumen carries forward. So there's no loss. If you see Krishna consciousness, no cost. What is the difficulty? You can't use your tongue in chanting. You can't eat prasadam. Nibir, can't you eat prasadam? Kamal Prabhu, don't you like prasadam?
Oh, that's my favorite.
Yes, see, that's my favorite. So everyone's favorite. Can't live without prasadam, can't live. You will see chanting also, Prabhupada used to say chant and be happy. Simply chanting, you will get that form of that satisfaction, because that supreme satisfaction that we are looking at, we'll get that internal peace, that internal satisfaction. We won't be looking out anymore. And then we will be happy. So, yep, I'll conclude with that. Any questions, anything like that? Please let me know. Anybody has any questions? Online, anybody has any questions, you can write a message, and then one of the Prabhus will just read it out to me. Any doubts, any clarities, any corrections? If you think I was too fast or, unclear with something, or maybe I said something wrong, please do let me know. Yes, Prabhu.
So, I'm late to the class.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, I see that to success in any particular field, there is some kind of rules, like must do, and there is some kind of dance.
Yeah.
So those I can understand that we need to do something to make it happen.
Yeah.
But what is the purpose of having dance? Like in particular example, like what happens if someone is doing these things?
Correct.
So how is this?
Okay. So, for example, let's give you a material example only to make it easier. Supposing you want to get good body, you want to get six-pack abs. Do's, what do you say? Do's is going to the gym, eating a regular diet, sleeping at correct times, because sleep also is going to make impact on your body. Now, you say that, okay, Prabhu, I will do the do's, but don'ts I won't do. What are the don'ts in gymming? If you say that I want a six-pack ab, but then at the same time you're eating whatever you feel like, chocolate, ice cream, this, that, you're eating uncontrolled amounts. People who are gymming, they measure their calories. I'm eating this food. They write down what they have. If you just say, I don't care about that, I'll eat whatever I do and all that, and then tomorrow I expect a six-pack ab, that's not going to happen. Don'ts are actually more important, because it's more easier for us to fall down than to do it. Do's are simple. Chanting 16 rounds is not very hard. But the don'ts, that's where we need to have some sort of tapasya. This human body that we've got is meant for tapasya. What is tapasya? Austerity, some hard work, some penance. In those times, like in earlier 1,000 years ago, people used to do very hardcore tapasya. Like you see, Dhruva Maharaj used to live without, he at a point he reached such high levels of yoga perfection that he could live without breathing also. He stopped eating fruits, he stopped drinking water. He reached that level. What is that? Austerity. There's no gain without no pain. So you need to go through some pain, and this is not very difficult. Nobody, Prabhupada used to say, what is austere about this? Meat eating. We're not saying don't eat. We're saying don't eat meat. Is that very difficult? There are so many options in vegetarian. Vegetarian, scientifically also people are becoming vegan. Why? Because they realize science is also catching up to what our Shastras and Rishis were saying, that vegetarian food is actually good for the body. It's required. People who eat meat are getting colon cancer, this cancer, that cancer. It's very bad. Illicit sex. Nobody's saying don't have sex. Do it with some sort of responsibility. Why are people having illicit sex? Because I don't want responsibility. They'll get a girl pregnant and then they leave, saying that I'm not the husband, I can leave. So Shastras understood this. Sex is actually a very powerful thing. If you see, why did Ramayana happen? Why did Mahabharata happen? It was all behind a women. Women actually have a very powerful role in society. Because they can ignite that desire, that lusty desire in men. So that's why Vedic society had certain sort of patterns and regulations for how women should be approached. That they should get married. The husband will protect them. They will look after them. They should be dressed in a particular way so that strangers don't look at them in a lustful way. This is all done very smartly. It's not like they just were degrading women so you cover yourself. No, it was done because they understood how human mind and how human society works. Gambling also. Do I need to tell you that gambling is bad? You go to the casino and see how people are miserable. I saw one guy, after losing the game, he just threw his phone and he started crying and sobbing. He said, honey, we need to take out our loans. He put his entire child's 5-year-old kid, his entire education savings that he had done, he put that in gambling and he lost. Because gambling, it's like fire is there, you're throwing ghee in it. It will just increase the fire. Thinking that I'll put ghee in it, the fire will go away. It won't. So all of these things, intoxication, Prabhu, do I need to tell you how bad intoxication is? You see the junkies in the Central and all of that. They're always dead and all that. It's sad, it's pathetic. I saw one junkie, literally, he was lying down. A street dog came, pissed on his mouth and went away. Imagine that quality of life. Do you think that's a good quality of life, Nibir? Do you think it's a good quality of life? That's what it does. It rottens your mind. So that's why these don'ts are more important. Only when you're sober, when you're straight and your mind is functioning properly, then only you can achieve Godhead. You can't, just do whatever you feel like, and then you can't not study for your exam and then expect to top. The do's are studying, the don'ts are, follow things. Can't do whatever you feel like. You can't say that I will not study or I will write my own theory in the exam. It doesn't work like that. You can't go to the gym and say that I will just do one exercise a day, eat whatever I feel like, and I will get 6-pack abs. It doesn't work like that. The don'ts are actually more important. When you follow the don'ts, when you see you are able to do all of this, then the do's will automatically happen. Then you will get that flavor also of chanting Hare Krishna. Like, I'll give you an example, a personal example. I was a meat eater. I used to eat non-veg a lot, but I used to also chant Hare Krishna because I said that this feels very difficult at now, but this one is easy, so I will try doing Hare Krishna. And I did that, but that time I used to not get that taste, that I used to not enjoy doing it so much. So after a point I used to skip it also. For 2-3 months I stopped chanting Hare Krishna. But the second one day I decided to leave meat, and then I was following all the 4 regulative principles and chanted Hare Krishna. Beautiful. I got that taste very quickly. And Krishna made arrangements that my spiritual progress could also move. I'm still very fallen, but still I was much better than when I was breaking all of these rules. So similarly, the don'ts are more important. If you follow the don'ts, the do's will happen like a piece of cake. It will be very easy. It will be smooth. Does that answer your question, Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna. Anybody online, any questions? So yeah, I think the key note to take is follow the don'ts. Avoid the don'ts. Follow the do's. Don't follow the don'ts. Yeah, and chant Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.